Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, which is incidentally also a live stream because when I was about to hit start recording, I accidentally hit start streaming. So, you know, hello Twitch chat. You guys get to see this video slightly before everyone else. Today I'm going to be answering the questions that I'm asked most often in Cards, really just the burning questions everybody wants to hear the three-time world champion weigh in on, as it has to do with cards, and really it affects everybody of all ranks. What are the best card backs in the game? So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I have found all of the card backs in the game. Not all of them are actually usable in the game. Some have been removed, some have been changed, some of them were never actually usable, but technically count as card backs. And I think I have all of them. If there's one I am missing, let me know in the comments and I will respond with my opinion on it. But we are going to be sorting them into this handy-dandy tier list here. And I have them ordered in some degree of ordering. I mean, there's like 92 of them, I think, so you might disagree with the ordering, but essentially I have started out with all of the card backs you earn just through leveling them, sorted by the category, so we'll do all the basic ones, all of the 50 ones, all of the 250, all of the 350, etc. Then all of the nation-specific ones that you can buy in the shop. And then we will go into the neutral ones that are able to be used by any nation. And a quick thing about the tiers. S tier is like basically what I think is the best or one of the best card backs for that specific nation, and those are the ones that I will like default to using if I pick a card back. F is just ones that I think are actively trash, and it pains me that they exist in the game. D is for things that I just find boring. So let's jump straight into it. First one, we have Britain Basic. So this is just the basic Britain card that you start with. I mean, let's be honest, the basic cards are going to be going into D. They're just boring. I mean, they're not terrible. They fit the role they're supposed to play in the game. And honestly, these are probably my most used card backs because I often just forget to change card backs when I make a new deck for ladder. So you'll probably often see me using these card backs. Despite the fact that I think it's not a hot take to say that the basic card backs are kind of boring. I will say, I actually think the Japan one goes up to C, just because I really like the color scheme, substantially more than just like the Britain and German gray and white. The Soviets, I'll also put into C. I will try to sort them within the ranks to some extent. I think the Japan one is definitely better than the Soviet one. And we'll get into this, but I think the US is gonna be, well, I kind of hate the British one the most. I'm not a fan of this like light beige. Then we get to the next four basic cards for France, Italy, Poland, and Finland. These ones are not card backs you can actually get in the game, and they are not card backs you can use. However, these are the card backs that appear when you're opening packs, and it will, when you open a Finnish card, if you open an Italian card, French card, Polish card, etc., it will show up with that card back. And it's done with the exact same design, with the color corresponding to the nation and just a generic symbol. So you have the French Cross of Lorraine. And these ones, I mean, it's hard to rank because you can't actually use them. However, I think the French one, I mean, Italian, it's similarly just kind of gray. The French one might be low C. The Polish one, again, brown. Cards just has a lot of very muted colors, and it fits the sort of military vibe that they're going for here. So I understand why it's like that. However, I do like a little bit of color. And I know that I put in Poland down here in D because it's brown, and I put the Soviets in C because it's also brown. It's a more colorful, a little bit brighter shade of brown, and it has the gold crest rather than just the white, which is what almost everything else has. The Finnish one looks sick. I'm actually going to put the Finnish one in B tier. If I could use this card back, I probably would. It looks really cool. I'm very sad that we can't actually use this. Next, we get to the level 50 card backs. So once you get your nation progression to level 50, I believe it's level 50. It's been a while since I've been here. But you get these card backs, starting with the British one, and I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, it's better than the basic one, obviously, because it's not gray and it has more than just a crown on it. Um, However, I still think this one's pretty bad. We're gonna put it down in C tier. I think it's unfair to put it below the basic ones, because it does have a little bit going for it. Then we have the German one. It's very simple. However, I kind of like the black and white with this bright color of red. I'm going to be putting a lot of red card backs very low, but I think the German one is probably one of my favorites. So we're going to put it into B, but we're still quite low. Then we get to the Japan one, and this one's interesting. So this is the current Japan one. This is the one in the game that you get for hitting level 50 Japan. It's all right. I mean, again, it's kind of similar to the basic ones in that it's just largely a single color with a single shape in the middle. However, I really like this solid white with the shape in the middle, and it has the red outline, so it stands out a bit more. I think it's quite comparable to the Finnish one. The Finnish one's like, you know, a lion with swords, so it's cooler, so we're going to leave it here. And then we have this one, and you might see these side by side and say, well, what's that? It's just the same one with the Rising Sun. This is what it used to be, and then it was removed when they removed all the Rising Suns, and they changed it into this one without the Rising Suns. And honestly, for this one, I have to say I prefer the one without the Rising Suns. Not by a lot. I think they're quite comparable. Obviously, it has more design to it. It's not just a monotone black, not a monotone background. Sorry. However, I think the Rising Sun, it's cool, but I really like this red outline that it has on the non one. So we're going to leave the Rising Sun one here. Then we get to the Soviet one, which kind of stands out compared to the other ones. It's a bit more detailed. The crest is a bit more detailed than these other ones. I really like the crest. However, I'm not a fan of just the solid red background, especially considering that the crest has a lot of red in it to begin with. So I would actually put this down into probably C tier. I think I actually prefer the basic Soviet card back to it. Although, again, it's better than just these basic ones down here. Then we have the US 350. This one is just boring. I mean, I don't know. I'm so done with the US. I'm so done with the US card backs just being all blue or all green. They're just very similar, and I think it gets pulled down because of this lack of variety in American card backs. They all kind of look the same. So because of that, it doesn't have a unique factor in the same way some of the other card backs do. So we're going to be putting this also in... I gotta put it down in D tier. It's just a boring card back. It's still better than the basic ones. And I think it is better than Cross of Lorraine. No, that's not true. I think Cross of Lorraine's actually better, although I might move Cross of Lorraine to top of D tier. Then we get to the 250 card back. So this 250 was the original cap on Nation XP. So these were the veteran card backs. So this is what you got for capping out Nation XP. And these were not introduced with the Nation XP, though. They existed before this. This used to be the end goal of card backs, I believe. If I'm remembering correctly. I could be misremembering this, actually, now that I'm saying this aloud. But the 250 card backs is where we start to get into the cool card backs. The Britain one looks sick. We're going to put this up into A tier. It's just really cool. We're starting to get into the backgrounds having multiple colors. I mean, you kind of had this in the level 50 Britain one, but it looks nicer. Then we have the German one. German one also looks really good. I actually think the German one looks better than the British one. Just, I like the slash more than I like the straight down line. Eagle looks cooler than the crown. And if you compare these back to the basic ones, you can see where it's coming from. They have the same crest. However, they've added elements to it. They've added color to it. So it's just a straight upgrade. The Japan one, I'm not thrilled about. I think it's just because I don't like the colors nearly as much as I like the colors on the original one. And, like, honestly, if I had to choose, I think I'd rather pick the basic Japan one over the 250 Japan one. I'm just not a huge fan of this light green color. Then we get to Soviets, my favorite nation. Unfortunately, their 250 looks terrible. I actually think it's worse than their 50, just because the red is so dull. And, like, it adds the second wreath, but it's also just very gray. So it's kind of hard to make out. And all around, the color of this card back is just very bland. And then we get to what honestly might be the best American card back. It's very simple. I still don't love the colors. I think it's still worse than the German and the Britain. And in fact, I'm even going to put it down into B tier. However, it looks decently cool. Then we get to the 350 card backs. And this is where things start getting wild. And we're also going to get our first S tier. The 350 British Air card back. This was the first 350 card back I got, and that's not why I like it. That's not why it's S tier. In fact, arguably, I think a lot of people probably see this card back a lot because a lot of players have Britain 350 because Brit Air exists. And ironically, the 350 card back is called Britain Air. That's the name of the card back. But I just absolutely love this card back. This light blue looks so good, and it contrasts well with this darker blue and then the white, gold, and red logo in the middle. It's not the stupid crown that we see on like every single one of these previous British card backs. And if you compare it to the other blue card backs, which are generally placed a lot lower, you can see just how bright the British Air card back is, and also again how well the contrast is in the colors compared to like the British 250 or the British 50, or sorry, the American 250 or the American 50, where the colors of blue are just much more similar. And the colors of the rest of the stuff in the card back is kind of mid. Then we get to the German 350. This is one of the few card backs on this list I don't actually have. My German level's 311, 312, something like this, so I'm closing in on it. It looks cool. I think it looks a lot worse than the 250 card back, though. A lot better than the 50 card back. So we're going to leave it in A tier. It looks fine. I'm not thrilled about it. It's kind of hard to see the eagle, and obviously that is because it's really small, but just the fact that the eagle is just all one color compared to the British 250, you have several different colors on this logo. Then we get to the Japan 350, and oh my goodness, I do not like this card back. Again, there's just so many red card backs, and not a lot of red card backs for Japan specifically, but it's just like, if you compare the colors, and I'm not putting it in S tier, but just putting it next to Britain, just compare the amount of color in the British card back compared to the amount of color in the Japan card back, and also just how bright the colors are. The Japan card back is honestly kind of awful. I'm going to put it down here in C tier. Then we have the Soviet 350, which I technically don't have. My Soviet level is 349. I've just been holding off on that. And I don't love it. I mean, it has the weird, like, watermelon colors. I've seen a lot of people call this the watermelon card back. And it's kind of unique in that way, but unique does not necessarily mean good. I don't love what's going on in this card back. And in fact, honestly, it's not that it's just dull, like a lot of these other card backs are. I kind of actively dislike this card back to a certain extent. Not an F tier level of dislike, but I'm going to put it down here in D tier, just because it just looks not good. And then last but not least for the 350s, we have the American 350. It's blue. I mean, it's a slightly darker shade of blue compared to the other American card backs that we've seen so far. And it's got a bit of color on it. It's got the gold wings, the white propellers. My issue with this is largely that the propellers just look weird. I've seen people say that they look like a lot of different things, like a cotton swab, like two bowling pins standing on top of each other. It's vaguely phallic. It just doesn't look like propellers, and I don't really like looking at this card back for too long. The gold wings look really cool, so it's certainly one of the better American card backs. I just think a little bit more time could have gone into this. The fact that the propellers are straight up, and like straight up and down, they're vertical, just looks weird, in my opinion. So I'm gonna put it down here in C tier. We'll put it at the top of C tier. Next up, we have the card backs that came with the first cosmetic bundle in Cards. I'm not sure exactly when this bundle came in, but it's been there for longer than I have been playing the game. When you came in, you get a couple card backs for playing the game. And then there was one big cosmetic bundle, or you could buy them individually, that came with an emote, a board item, and these card backs. So this is the British card back, the first paid card back. They've completely redone how the shop works, so you'll just see this on its own one day, I think. I don't think you can buy it as a bundle anymore. And I have to say, it's unique compared to the other ones. I mean, it has that same box action going on as the Japan one, obviously very different colors. Um, the black and white reminds me of the German level 50 card back. However, this is a British card back. Nothing about this card back screams Britain to me. And also, it's too much black and white. Like, I think a lot of white can be good when it's framing something cool, like the Finnish card back. In this case, it's just black and white to frame something that is also black and white. It's like a fist. It's like a gauntlet. I'm very mid about this card back. I think it's more interesting. I'll put it here. I think it's more interesting than just these very plain card backs down here elsewhere in C. However, it's just not got anything going for it for me. Then we get to the German cosmetic bundle card back, and this one actually looks really cool. It's been power crept quite a bit over the course of the game, but like back when there was like 12 card backs in the game and half of them looked like this. This is German. The one looked really cool, and because of that, it has a special place in my heart. I'll put it in low A tier. I think it's very simplistic. I like this shade of gray. I know I've been saying a lot about how much I don't like a gray. This color looks quite good, and it has the three different colors. It has the black, it has the white, it has the black border again around the white, and then it has this nice gray. I feel like having three colors is like a minimum for like a decent card back, with a few exceptions. Then we get to the paid, Japanese one. This is the one currently in the game. It's really bad. This is honestly probably the first F tier card back. It's just looks so terrible. It's like a singular color with the red background. It barely even has anything special going around the borders. The logo in the center, it's just a circle with some script in it. It's not. Maybe if I spoke Japanese, this would be marginally, or was able to read Japanese, this would be slightly more meaningful to me. But I am not. And it kind of compares in style to the basic card backs. And the basic card backs, I don't think they're good. We've read over this. They're not particularly good. However, at least they have like this sort of simplicity. They have dulled down colors that are all similar. This one's like a very bright red with nothing going on with it. It brings attention to itself and then has nothing to show for it. So we're putting this down in F tier. Now that card back was brought in to replace this one, which it used to be. This is the Rising Sun one. Again, removed at the same time, or changed at the same time as this guy. I think this is the 50 Japan card back because of the Rising Sun. And this one, I don't like it either. I think between the two Rising Suns, this one's worse. Just because you have that extra white border around the red circle, and the white script makes slightly less of an impact. You have more stripes going on, which makes it a bit more distracting. I think it's just the worst between these two. However, comparing the two of them, again, this one just looks so much better. That we're going to put the Japan one down in C tier. I mean, I don't love it, but just it kind of gets boosted almost compared to how terrible its replacement was. Then we get to our next S tier. This is the paid Soviet card back, and honestly, it might be my favorite card back in the game. We'll have to get through the rest of them to see. I think it edges out Britain Air slightly for me, partially because it's Soviet, which is my favorite nation, partially because compared to other Soviet card backs, there's a lot less choice to be made compared to British card backs. We'll see as we get more into this, but Britain, I think, probably has the best average quality card back, whereas Soviets has it's low. I'm not going to say it's the worst, but it's certainly low. As for some people, this card back has a bit too much going on, but what I really love is that it has this really busy design surrounding what is just a slightly blown up version of the crest in the level 50 card back. But the level 50 card back, the color is completely wrong for it. It's almost the same shade as the flag, almost the same shade as the star. It just looks really bad. This one, you have this darker, like sort of maroon, brown, dark red color. That frames it much, much nicer. It's slightly bigger, so you can see more details on the wreath. And then you have this like a gold foil, very dull, surrounding the wreath, which, like, if you didn't have this, if it was just this dark red, and you could compare these with just different colors in it, it would be awful. It would probably be slightly better than this one, but it would be awful. But this gold foil thing adds so much to it, and it's dull enough that it doesn't make the card look too busy, but it adds enough to it that it looks so much better than if it wasn't there. And that is why this card is my highest ranked card so far. Then we have the US purchase cosmetic bundle card back, and again, like, it just kind of looks like all of the other US ones. Like, I mean, it's a similar shade as this. It's a similar shade as this. It has very similar colors to the 350 card back. You have this like white geometric design in the background, but it's hard to see and doesn't really look that good when you do see it. So I am not a huge fan of this card back. It's miles better than the level 50 card back. I think it's probably marginally worse than the or the 350 card back. That's not true. I'm going to put it just above the 350 card back. The red in it makes it look nice, although it kind of looks like a rising star, or a rising sun on the star, now that I say it. Then we have the Theaters of War card backs, which there's one for each nation. And you used to get these for completing like getting 15 stars for the campaign in the Theaters of mode, or the Theaters of War single player mode. Now you just buy them in the shop when they show up. However, they all look like this. Like, they're all just very plain color with the same star in it with slightly different colors. This is the British one. I was talking to Starry, and Starry said that this is her favorite of the Theaters of War card backs because it's the one where you can most clearly see the map. It's not going to show up on YouTube. But if you see this card, it has like a map of a battlefield, like very loosely sketched in the background. And this is the lightest of the card backs, so it's the easiest to see the map. That's why Starry rated this highly. I don't really care about the map. So in that, to me, it's just kind of a white thing with like a compass star in the middle, and it does not look good. I'm going to drop it down here in, I mean, it's better than the British basic card back, and I think that's about it. We'll put it at the top of the base. I actually think I kind of like the Poland basic. We'll put it here. It's ahead of some of the more bland basic card backs, but it's really boring. Then we get to the German one, which is this weird beige color. You really don't find this color on like any other card back in the game, and there's a very good reason for it. This is F tier. It just looks bad. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about that. It's just not a appealing color to me. So we'll put it down in F tier. Actually, honestly, I'd rather see the Japan one. And then we get to the Japan Theaters of War one. It's kind of yellowy. It's slightly more interesting than the British one. I don't even think that's true. I think it's slightly worse than the British one. Again, not interesting. The Theaters of War card backs largely suck. However, I say largely, the Soviet one looks really cool. And you have this light blue color. And what I've learned from making this tier list is that I apparently am a sucker for light blue on card backs specifically. This one I just really like. For a while, this was the Soviet card back I used on every single Soviet deck I played, because it was before I had this one. And if we look at where I've placed the other Soviet card backs, they all kind of suck in my opinion. So I used this one for a long time. It was also well before Britain Air got introduced, so it was the only like sort of light blue in the game. The only thing you could compare it to is sort of this American card back. And so I'm going to put it up in A tier. I still think that I would use this card back from time to time. It's been power crept a lot by the card backs they've released, especially in the last year. So yeah, I'm going to drop it down to B, but I still think I prefer it to some of these other card backs. Then we have the American one. It's green. Green is my favorite color, just by the way. So when I rank all of the green cards poorly, it's not because I dislike green. It's just I dislike the fact that I dislike how the green looks as a card back. And especially when it's just a singular color. It's kind of boring. It reminds me a lot of the American card back, so I'll put it there. I think it's marginally better than the American card back, but not by a lot. And now we get on to the other purchasable card backs that will be rotated in through the shop. All of these card backs were just sort of released on their own, or alongside other bundles at various points. I do not remember the order that these came out in, and I think it would be a massive struggle to find that information, even if that information is still available to anyone other than 1939. So I thought it was best to just sort all of these by nation. So these are going to be all of the British cards that cycle through the shop, starting with the, I think this is the RAF. You have this sort of green-gray camo. You have the British Air Force symbol in the middle. I quite like this card back. Before Brit Air came out, this was my British card back of choice. However, it's been power crept a lot. Also, just the camo, the appeal of the camo has definitely lost me over time. Again, just because it's sort of my two least favorite colors in this game, the gray and green, like this light army color green in one card back, and having both of them in like these weird asymmetrical stripes, it's fine. It's interesting. You have some color with the logo, but it's definitely lost some of its appeal to me over time. I'm still going to put it in low A tier. I think this is still a very solid card back, and if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of card backs, I think this is a solid pickup. Then we get to the keys. It's just black with some keys in them. And honestly, I really like black for card backs. I think black, it looks really, really nice with card backs. And I like the keys that the color of white they chose stands out. Some of the black card backs have like these really dulled colors, looking at the German 350. This one stands out a lot. I mean, I can't put it higher than B just because it is very, very simplistic. But we're going to put it pretty high B. I think this card back looks really nice. Then we get the I. This card back is very polarizing, I feel like. I've seen a lot of people say that this is the worst card back in the game, easy F tier. It's creepy. You have these weird, like, spiraling geometric shapes in the background that you probably aren't going to be able to see on YouTube, but if you look this card up in the shop or something. And then you just have the eye staring straight back at you, which is very disconcerting. However, you have to think about the fact that your opponent is seeing these card backs more so than you are when you play the game. So it's giving you a slight mental edge over your opponent. They're terrified of the eye. It's peering into their soul. I love using this card back with Britain-Poland legions, where you have intel on their entire hand, and because the eye is like the intel eye icon when you're looking at what cards are revealed in their hand. So to me, this card is very unique, and I'm going to leave it in A tier because of its uniqueness. We're going to put it in high A tier. This is not a card back I would put on, like, well, okay, these card backs look sick. It's not a card back that I would put on, like, every British deck, but it's a card back that I will definitely consider in certain situations. I feel like there's certain decks that fit the mood of this card back, and I just sort of love the audacity they had in making this card back. Like, if you look at everything else, it's just like, hammer and sickle, lions, crowns, eagles, whatnot. This one is just an eye. Like, this is a wild choice for them to release this as a card back. Then we get to the kangaroo card back. This one was released fairly recently. This one is sick. I don't love the red. This is not my favorite color. I think it's a little dull. I think the circle is slightly off-center. Like, this is not a perfect circle, I'm 90% sure, which kind of annoys me. But also, it's a kangaroo, which looks hilarious. And again, I sort of just appreciate the audacity they had in releasing this card back. It's so wild, it's so out there, I kind of love it. And I think it will lose its novelty over time. And I can see myself rating this even as low as C, maybe. Probably B. Kangaroo pulls it up. But for now, I'm going to leave it in A tier just because it's still sort of fresh in my mind. And it's not a card back I don't think I've seen like anyone else use. So it's not something I see a lot either. And I just absolutely love the fact that they put a kangaroo on a card back. However, it got immediately outclassed by the fish card back, which came out like a month later. It's also a British card back. This one looks sick. You have this really fascinating different colors of blue that contrast well together, and they form a wave going back and forth across the screen. And if it was just that, like if you cut out the middle and it's just the waves, I don't really like it. In fact, I would say that it's really, really bad. But like basically every card back, it has the icon in the middle, and in this case, it is a red fish on a white circle background to make it stand out more from the waves, and it looks awesome. I absolutely love the fish card back. It looks sick. Again, I really like these animals that they're adding, and not just like, you know, the 25th eagle. You're getting kangaroos, you're getting fishes. Fish. This card back looks awesome. It's not better than the 350 Brit card back, but I am putting it in S tier. If this was any nation, like if this was a US card back, a Japanese card back, or a German card back, I would run this like 100% of the time. However, it's a British card back, and I think it just gets slightly outclassed. I mean, I'm probably playing the fish card back more now because it is newer, but over time, I think I will default back to the British Air card back. This card back looks sick. Then you get a new British card back. This one, I think, is the Battle Pass card back, if I'm correct. So I think this is the most recent card back in the game. It's another British card back, and it's another animal. This one is sort of a cross between the kangaroo and the keys, where it's black. A lot of the black card backs in this game use kind of dulled black. Like, it's kind of like it has a bit of gray and white in there. This one is much more striking black, which I really, really like. And it has a boar on it. It's like a jumping boar. This card back looks really, really cool. It doesn't scream Britain to me. I like the colors far more than the kangaroo, so I think this one is going to also be in A tier, but I expect, like, in the next 6 months to year, kangaroo is going to drop for me on this ranking. I think the boar is going to stay up there. I really like the boar. Again, it's competing with the fish and Britain Air. It's just got such good competition. And I don't think I'd put it above the Britain 250. The problem that kind of brings down the 250 card backs is basically everybody who plays, not everybody, and but like so many people have the Britain 250 card back, that it loses its coolness factor because everybody has it. And also everybody, if they're not using the Britain one, they're using the 250 for a different one, so that kind of brings it down by just the novelty is lost. Whereas the boar, you know, it's the boar. But I am going to keep the 250 German, 250 Britain card backs up here. They look amazing. Then we get to our German card backs. So the first one is this. I am not entirely sure what this is. I think the card's called Panzer Division, something like that. It's weird. This is a very difficult card back for me to evaluate. Like, what is going on in this card back? It's sort of like a British style almost color with this gray, but then it has like a yellow shape on it. I'm probably getting flamed by people who are like, oh, don't you know that this is like some military something something. I am not a military historian. almost all of you probably know more about World War II than I do, especially if it has anything to do with equipment or military hierarchy, anything like that. So keep that in mind if before you type your like armchair historian comment flaming me. Um, I mean, it's just such a weird card back. I kind of don't hate it. Like, I know there's a lot of bad card backs in the game. I don't hate this, I think. I have to put it in C tier, though. There's just too little going on this card back. It's sort of the two-color rule. I know there's some things that sort of break the two-color rule, but this one is not breaking it. It's just a yellow shape on gray. We're gonna put it down here. And in fact, actually, the more I look at it, the more I dislike it. I still think it's better than these Soviet red ones, but it's kind of down here in C tier. Then we get this German card back. It has a diving eagle with a bunch of multicolored arrows pointing up on a light green background. This card back just has too much going on it for me personally. I know a lot of people love this card back. The eagle looks really cool. If it wasn't for the arrows, like if it was like eagle on a black circle with the green background or something like that, the eagle looks really, really cool. It is the best eagle in the game. I will give it that. There's a lot of eagles in this game. This is the coolest eagle in the game. The arrows just don't do it for me. I don't like the variety of colors in the background, and it makes it hard to see the eagle, which I think is the main thing this card has going for it. And like, honestly, I kind of want to put this card in F tier. And I know that's going to make a lot of people mad. I know this is probably the hottest take I've had so far. I just don't like the arrows. Just like the longer I look at this card back, the more it just like makes me really, really dislike it. And also, part of it is that the eagle is so cool that it is ruined on this card back. Like, I don't understand the choice of the background of this card back. And honestly, I'm gonna put it down in F. And I'm gonna take this guy out of F. I think F should be dedicated to card backs that genuinely evoke like a strong visceral reaction from me when I see them. And this Theaters of War one doesn't. It's just boring. Whereas these two genuinely do. The Japanese red one, not so much if my opponent's using it. I'm probably just like, doesn't look good, whatever. This German card back, when I see my opponents using this card back, I just want to get out of the game as quickly as possible. I hate looking at this card back. Then we get to a German card back, which is not terrible. The Kriegsmarine card back. This one's really cool. You have this sort of dark blue background. You have the anchor with a like lightning bolt going through it on a black circle. This card back's really cool. Now, it's not... I think there's cooler stuff going on for Germany. It's a little dark. Like, there's nothing that stands out. Even the anchor isn't, like, bright white. It's sort of like this very light blue, dulled color. So it doesn't stand out. I don't think it's as good as even this one with the spade on it. However, it's quite strong. It's definitely an A-tier card back. I'm going to move the kangaroo down here. It's just, I don't know. It's a little too dark for me. Then we have another German card back. This one is a weird one. I think this is Germany's only green card back. Like, fully green. And it's a diamond. It has some weird shapes going on in the background. It's sort of like the eye, in that respect, where it has these weird geometric shapes going on in the background if you can look at it close enough. I don't love this. Again, it's interesting because it's unique to Germany. They don't have any card backs like this. But I can't say it looks good. So it's gonna go down here. I think it's still better than some of these. Like high C, low B. I don't love this card back. I'd use it because it's new and it's not, a Theaters of War card back, but it's not gonna have any staying power for me. Then we get to what might be my favorite German card back, and the last German card back we're going to be looking at here today. I think this is another Panzer Division card back. It has the same, or at least a similar logo, or symbol, sorry, as the other Panzer Division one, the one that's on the gray background. But unlike that one, it is highlighted, like it has a border, a black border on it that makes it stand out more. And two, the background, instead of being a light gray, incredibly boring, it is this really cool multicolored camo. And if you compare it to the RAF card back, it has a much nicer color. It has more variety in colors. There's more of it. It's not just like 3 stripes across. I really like this card back for German card backs. Maybe calling it the best German card back's a bit of an over-exaggeration. The German veteran card back just looks so cool. However, it's just a fun card back. It's not a serious card back, but it's fun. I'm gonna put it above Kriegsmarine, but behind the Spade. It's a card back that I want to love. However, I think there's just cleaner, nicer card backs to look at. Then we get on to the Japan one. So with Japan, you have a interesting variety of card backs. You start off strong with the Imperial Star. This used to be my card back of choice for Feigned Retreat, because if you're looking at the other Japanese card backs, they all kind of suck. And whereas the Japanese Imperial Star, it's very straightforward. You have this big, bright orange with a yellow golden star in the middle. That's basically it. It's very simple. But it is one of 2, maybe 3, depending how you look at it, orange card backs in the game. It is definitely the only, like, bright orange card back in the entire game, and I'm a fan of bright orange. The yellow star looks really good with the bright orange, and they don't try anything weird on it. It's just, that is what you get. It's a bright orange card back with a yellow star, and that works for me. I really like this card back. Honestly, this might still be my favorite Japanese card back. They get a lot of really cool stuff going for them later. But I think I'm going to put it up right here between the Spade and the German 350. It got power crap. Like, it's very simple, but sometimes simple works. And in this case, simple definitely works for me. Then we have this card. I think it's like the Sentai card back, something like that. And what to say about this card? I don't even begin to understand what's going on in the background of this card back. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this is like naval camo, sort of thing that they'd like paint on boats to make them blend in on the horizon. It looks awful. Like, it looks absolutely atrocious. The red Japanese rising suns in the corner are interesting. It adds a little bit of color to it, but the logo, not interesting. It doesn't stand out. It's not, it doesn't have a border to make it, like, really stand out. This card back is going down in F tier. I really dislike this card back. And honestly, I think it's fair to take this out of F tier, just put it very low D. It's not that bad. These two, actively, I hate to look at. You can see, these are the ones that are new. These are the ones that came out in 2023. And they're taking risks. I mean, for every fish that we get, we have to get something that's not going to land. You're going to get, like, the arrows. But then you have 2 back-to-back Japanese card backs that look really, really good. So I'm not entirely sure what this is. If it's like an arrow, it's a bird diving, like a very stylized, simplistic depiction of a bird diving. The red looks really good on this, like, a very light beige card back. And then you have, like, the red framing around the corner. I think this card back looks really, really nice. It's not my favorite color. It's very plain. The logo doesn't do much for me. However, for me, this is a pretty easy A tier card back. And I think this is a pretty good positioning for it. And then I think this was the last battle pass, I believe, or maybe the first battle pass. This one's very recent. I think this is the most recent Japanese card back. And this one, it's, again, solid black. It's not as black if we put it next to the boar. It's not quite as black. You can see it's a bit grayed out. But you have the white circle again with these red wings, arrows, I don't really know what they are, sticking out of it. I really like the way, you can compare it a lot to the one that we just looked at, where this one has the white beige background, this one has a black one. But it's very similar with a white circle with a red shape to make it stand out. The fact that it goes out of the circle into the black makes it a little hard to make out what the shape is, so I don't love it. I think I love it more than this one, but honestly, as time goes on, I think I will still just prefer the Imperial Star to this one, but I do appreciate what this one is trying to do. I think it's a good direction to take in Japanese card backs. And again, we are out of Japanese card backs. So Imperial Star is my favorite Japanese card back in the game, apparently. The Soviet, like this checks out to me. This is my favorite Soviet one. This is my favorite British one. This is my favorite German one. This is my favorite Japanese one. That checks out to me. Actually, we haven't done Soviets, but spoiler alert, this is my favorite Soviet card back. Although there's several that are going to give it its run for its money. So first off, we start with this Soviet card back. This is an F tier for me. So this card back, I don't know what exactly about it. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of hard to quantify. But something about the size of this logo just feels comical to me. Like, it feels cartoonish. Like, it almost feels like it is somehow the Comic Sans version of the Soviet logo. And I really don't know how to pinpoint why I think this way, but I can't help but feel that way every single time I see this card back. It just looks comical. It looks rounded. It looks Comic Sansy. I hate this card back. Honestly, this might be my least favorite card back in the game. It's not, objectively, it's not as ugly as these ones, but I think this might be my least favorite card back in the game just because I don't understand what it is about it that just frustrates me so much about it. Also, I should probably take a moment. If the artists at 1939 who designed these card backs ever watched this video, apologies for how much I've already dragged your hard work and how much I'm going to continue to drag all of your hard work. I really appreciate the job you guys do. You make some very, very interesting designs, and you've been stepping up your ambitions with card back designs and what can be on a card back, what makes a card back. You've definitely been stepping it up. I absolutely love the jobs you're doing. If some of them don't work for me, this is just my personal opinion. That disclaimer aside, let's talk about a card back that doesn't actually suck that much. This one, it's a weird one for Soviets. It's one of their green card backs. They're going to get a couple of these. And this one, I don't hate the colors of green as much. It's very, very similar to this British one. And the British one has the black and red that looks much nicer than the white triangles. However, yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe I'm ranking this British one too low, but I'm not going to go back and change everything. This green one's fine. I mean, of the green Soviet card backs, it's by far the best. However, that's not really saying a lot. We'll put it here in B tier. It's fine. Then let's get to the next S tier card back, the Rifles card back. I absolutely love this card back. And I know, again, some people hate this card back. Some people think this card back's D tier, F tier, etc. One, I think it's just really, the Rifles is a really cool, like the crossed Rifles is just a really cool icon. I really love the yellow. Yellow's definitely not one of my favorite colors, but I think it looks really good in cards on card backs. If you look too closely at the design in the background, like, it's nice that it stands out and it's not just a solid yellow. If you look too closely at it, it starts to feel like a little ugly, a little too much. However, I just don't look at it that closely. I look at the Rifles, I look at the general vibe of the colors, and I really like it. So for me, it's S tier. It's going to be the lowest of the S tier. It's not a fish. It's not Brit Air. It's definitely not Soviet Guards 2. But, you know, I really like the Rifles card back. It's sort of golden almost. And again, if this was a German card back, if this was a Japanese card back, I would use this all the time. Then we get to Artillery Brigade, I think it is, which is a Soviet card back. Again, it's green. It's got an eagle with some triangles and a circle. Very similar colors to this one. However, I'll dislike the colors slightly more. This one has slightly more variety. It's a bit darker. The eagle's cooler than the triangles, don't get me wrong, but it's just meh to me. Like, it's gonna be a C tier for me for sure. I think this is a good positioning for it, actually. Then we get to the Artillery Brigade Winter, which looks sick. This is another S tier. It's basically just the same thing, but instead of the green, you have this, like, dirty white, like, it looks like sort of like snow mixed with dirt. It has a very grimy winter feel to it. And then the eagle goes from white to red. And it looks so good. This is sort of like what how I used to feel about this Soviet Theaters of War card back, where it like kind of has a wintry theme. I really love the wintry themes in this game. The Moscow HQ, my favorite HQ in the game is the Moscow HQ. Um, just for the winter, the color of the board when you play it. And this is just that theme taken to the max. I prefer it to the rifles. Honestly, I might even prefer it to the fish. It just looks so good. I can't put it higher than Soviet Guards though, just because the eagle is a mid logo. I'm not gonna lie. It looks really cool. Like the colors are very striking, but it's another eagle. It's not particularly special. Like if you compare it to the German 350 eagle, if you compare it to this F tier diving eagle, it looks a lot worse than those. I just really like the way that it stands out. I absolutely love the background texture. And this is what I mean by they're getting very ambitious. Like if you look at all of the other card backs, they would like, they have different designs, they have different patterns, but they're all like fairly consistent patterns and color schemes. This one is just designed to look dirty, and it works really, really well. Then we get to the US card backs. You have I think this is the PIR card back. It's blue with a parachute. The parachute is cool. It has a little bit going on in the background. So, like, it's better than the 50. And I prefer this color of blue slightly more to the navy, so it's higher than these. Although it gets brought down a bit by the fact that it's just white and blue. These ones have the gold, the red. I mean, I'll leave it here. I can't put it up to B tier. They're just, like, the US card backs are just so mid. Then we get Easy Company, which I used a lot when it came out. However, it has lost so much of its charm. It is a weird shade of green. It's sort of like Shrek green almost. And it has the spade. And it just doesn't, it's just not comparable to the German spade card back. One, the design is just, it looks worse. It's big, it's white, it's not framed by anything. So it's very simple. It's sort of the two-color rule again coming in. And when it came out, I probably would have put this like low A tier, just because if you look at what the other US card backs are, this is so much better than them. But honestly, in a vacuum, any one of these is better than this. It's just the fact that there's all of them and they all look the same that this gets ranked higher. I'm gonna have to put Easy Company down here. I like it better than the Artillery Brigade card back, but not by much. Then we get the Brazil card back. This one's weird. You got the Brazil colors going on. You have this weird wavy spiral texture in the background. And then the logo's this weird symmetrical star on the yellow diamond. It's a very bizarre card back. And it's a card back that doesn't really work for me. I just don't love the colors. Like, we call it the Brazil card back, but like the Brazilian flag is far more bright. And the Brazilian flag looks far better. Like, it's like you took the color scheme of the Brazilian flag and then you just, like, reduced the brightness by, like, 70-80%. It's just such dull colors if you compare it to some of these brighter card backs, that I just can't get behind it very much. Like, it's better than Easy Company, because it has a bit more going on it. But I think I'd have to put it here, where it's just sitting in the pack of high C-tier US card backs. And honestly, right now, the PIR is the highest. Oh, no, that's not true. The US 250 is the highest. And honestly, this is a little rated a bit too high, but we're this far in. And then we get to what I think is probably my favorite US card back. I think it's also the newest, if I'm correct. Again, it is the dark blue with the red, with the gold. It's the same color scheme as everything else. It just looks the best. You have this interesting shield background that's framed by two different colors. I don't know if these are supposed to be swords in the middle that are crossed, but it's interesting enough that, like, it's not the stupid propellers from the 350 card back. It's no fish. But it looks cool. It's low A, high B. I'm going to put it at low A just to give US something. I really like the way that this gold stands out. It stands out a bit more strongly. It covers more of the card back than the other ones. The red is also much more strong than the other ones. So, well, I'll even put it here. But this is by far the peak of American card backs. And that brings us to the end of the nation-specific card back. So this is all of the nation-specific card backs in the game. This is how I rank them. If you look at who gets into the S tier, Soviets get 3 in the S tier. Britain gets 2 in the S tier. But then if you look at the next, all of A, no Soviet card backs. All of B, there's 2 Soviet card backs, and honestly, both of them are kind of ranked too highly, if I'm being completely honest. Whereas if you look at Britain, 2 in S, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in A tier. Britain card packs are just so much better than the rest. And they released the kangaroo, the fish, and the boar, like, in the span of, like, 6 months, I think. It's insane. Like, Britain is just so much power. Like, the sheer power of British card backs and the consistency of British card backs compared to other nations is just unfair. It's truly boggles the mind how the artistic team and the balance team work together to create such a stacked nation. But if we look at the losers of this, I mean, Japan and US really stand out as having very mid card backs. Japan is in an upward trend. The two most recent Japanese card backs, very good, solid A tiers. US needs so much work in getting good card backs. It would help if they did anything other than blue. And you might say, well, it's America, the blue, it's sort of their color. If you look at the other nations, like, Soviets, red, you associate red with Soviets. Like, the red and white, you associate with Japan. All of these other nations are getting other colors. Like, they're getting other schemes, they're getting other card backs that look different and interesting. US, it just gets blue. And then they have, like a green one, a couple of green ones in there. But, like, oh, it's just, it's atrocious. But from there, let's get into the remaining card backs. These are the ones that can be applied to any deck. So, with the nation-specific card backs, the first group, there's a couple different groups here. The first group that I'm going to cover is the card backs you can no longer get anymore, and that sort of represented a milestone in sort of Cards' general career. So the first one we have up is, again, one of the only card backs here I don't have. I think I'm missing like 4 or 5 from this entire list. One I do not have is the Alpha card back. So, very straightforward. This card back you got if you played in the Alpha. I joined like 2 or 3 months into the beta. So I do not have this card back. It looks really cool. I've only seen it a handful of times. I mean, just the rarity factor spikes it a lot. However, I'll pull up the beta card back right now just to show them side by side. I just prefer the colors on the Alpha card back. Like, I just think it looks nicer than the beta card back, beyond just the fact that Alpha's cooler than beta, and the Alpha card back is far rarer. So I think the Alpha card back is like a solid, like, it's got to be a solid A tier. If I had the Alpha card back, I would use it very frequently. Now, it's maybe the highest of B, just because into A, you're getting to these really cool designs, whereas Alpha is very, very straightforward. But, like, it's just has so much going for it beyond the fact that it is relatively straightforward, and I really like the colors. The beta card back looks really bad. And also a lot of people have it. It's going down here in D tier somewhere. I don't think I've, like, I literally don't think I've ever used this card back. I could be wrong about that, but, like, there's some of these card backs that I think I've never used, like some of the Theaters of War and this beta card back. It just looks so boring. Like, honestly, I'd rather use the basic card backs. I'm going to put the beta card back down here. It's still above this Theaters of War and this red one, but it looks bad. Then we get the Steam card back, which was available with the Welcome Bundle, and the Welcome Bundle went it was free for a while. The Steam card back, it's boring. Like, it has the Steam gears, whatever. However, I really like the black and white. Again, if you compare it to the board, they just gray out their blacks so much in this game. Um, so like it's a solid. I would honestly put it B tiered. Like it's not as good as keys. But I just really like the black card backs, so we're gonna put it like B tier. You know, slightly ahead of Finland. Um, just because like it's a solid card back you can use for any nation. You know, if you have US and all you have are these stupid blue card backs, you can just slap a good black card back onto anything. And it looks fine. Then we get the 1-year anniversary card back, which is the first metallic card back they introduced to the game. And when it came out and they announced this, they were like, oh, look at this very shiny new style of card back. It's metallic, it has a gleam to it. There were some people who, when this was announced, they were like, oh, that looks so cool. I had the immediate opinion of this looks terrible. And as far as I'm aware, I think everybody kind of came to that same conclusion once it got added to the game and they looked at it. Because I see almost nobody use this card back. And for pretty good reason, it looks pretty bad. Just the metallic does not fit the vibe of the other cards. Like, the other card backs feel papery. Like, the entire game feels papery. It's a card game. So just having this, like, weird, out-of-place metallic color looks just very bad. And, like, honestly, it looks so bad that I might put it high F tier. Just, I would never use this card back. The metallic colors just look so bad. Then we get to, I think, the final card back on this list that I don't have, which is the mobile beta card back. And the reason I don't have this is my phone did not meet the specs to participate in the Kards beta, or the Kards mobile beta, unfortunately. My phone is a bit of a brick. So I did not get this card back, and I'm not missing out. I kind of hate this card back. The colors are whatever. The logo, I'm assuming it's a B for beta, and then like a mirrored upside down B, but it just looks bad. I don't like the thing in the middle at all. And the colors are not striking enough. They're not different enough to differentiate them from, like, say, the German card back or even the beta card back. And yeah, I put it down here, even below the beta card back, because at least the beta card back, it has text on it. Not very few card backs of the game have text on it, and I think the text looks fine. I think it actually looks pretty good compared to text on a card back, how you would think that would go. Whereas this beta one, I'm just not feeling it at all. Then we have the Kards Mobile full release. I'm not sure if you still get this for playing Kards Mobile, or if that was just when it came out. But it is the D-Day card back, because I think it was released on like the anniversary of D-Day. I don't love the colors on this. The shade of red is too dark. The shade of blue is honestly fine. Like, it's sort of comparable to the eye in its color, but it's the fact that it just has this weird sideways slash and then this really boring red color in the bottom. The D for D-Day. I don't like the font choice they used for it. It just feels kind of weird. Also, like, if you look, almost every single card back does the top left corner, bottom right corner. Like, if you look at the 250s, you look at the alpha, the beta, the 1-year anniversary. There's a few exceptions. Actually, there might be only one exception, just quickly glancing through this. I think the only exception is the Sentai card back that has the Rising Suns on opposite corners, and this one's down in F tier. So take that how you will. I don't think the D-Day card back is F tier. However, I really don't like it. I just really dislike the colors, and its logo is a star. You're not getting any points for that, and the weird font choice on the D's just bring it down really low. So I'm gonna do low D tier. I actually think I dislike this more than the Kards beta card back, despite it being more colorful, but just looks so meh. Then we get to, we're just going to go rapid fire through these ones. We get to the Kards expansion card backs. So every time there's an expansion, there is a card back associated with that expansion comes out, and they, generally speaking, follow a very simplistic rule. And it starts, of course, with the no longer available cards card back. This one was just the default card back. When you opened the game, you had the 5 nation-specific card backs and the Kards card back. It's black, and it has the white Kards logo in the middle, and it says Kards on it, and that is the entire card back. And they somewhat recently removed it. It is just gone from the game. So obviously this is like easy S tier. I mean, it's not, but I know some people have formed like a cult around this card just because it is very simplistic. It is the default card back, and a lot of people are kind of annoyed that they removed it. And it doesn't look bad. Like, it's a solid B card back just because of the colors. Again, like, if it's solid black, you're gonna get a B from me, at least. But again, just look how dull the colors are on this. It's so dull. It's pretty low, though. We're gonna put it at the bottom of B tier. Then we get the Allegiance one. It's sort of this light blue one. It's very comparable to the French colors. It's sort of like a mix between the French and Italian colors, which makes sense because Cards Allegiance is when they introduced France and Italy. I don't really love this card back. As with most of these card backs, I think it's going to be going down into D tier. Where in D tier doesn't really matter. I just don't like the color, and as we're going to see, what made the card back special is the fact that it was the first one. It was the default. It says Cards on it, and it looks cool, and also the white looks really good with the black. All of these other card backs, almost all of these other card backs, have the same white Cards logo, just on different colored card backs, and they don't look good. Example, the Theaters of War card back, which is the same logo on the really terrible sandy beige color that every single Theaters of War card, well, most of the Theaters of War card was associated with. It looks worse than the Compass Stars. I will say it looks better than this German colored one. But that's not saying a lot. So we're going to put it down here in D tier and move on. Then we have the Breakthrough one. This one is sort of weird. So it has an interesting color. Just this sort of turquoisey blue. But then they decide to shake it up a little and made the logo of it orange instead of white. And also, as you can see on these card backs, I haven't mentioned it before, you see the symbol that represents the expansion on the thing. So in the default one is just the card star. This one, there's the gear for Breakthrough. There's the Cross of Lorraine on the Allegiance one. And if you play a card from that expansion, it will have that same symbol on the bottom of the card to let you know which expansion it came out in. So that's a cool tie-in. The Breakthrough card back actually looks fine. I think the orange and blue look really nice together. I really, really like the combination of orange and blue. However, this is not the shades of orange or blue that I would like to see, so it's not going to get any higher than B tier. But I think I think it squeaks it into B tier just because blue and orange is a really nice color combination, and I think this is almost the only blue and orange card back in the game. Because then we get to the Breakthrough Catalyst, a sort of mini expansion that followed up Breakthrough, and Breakthrough Catalyst had its own card back, and it broke the trend, and did something different. It used the same colors as the Breakthrough card back, the orange and blue, this time reversed with the orange being the dominant one. And then it has these 3 gears, which I guess are the Breakthrough gears. The gears look really bad. Like, I'd much prefer to see the 2 small gears in the corners, like the other card backs, but again, just the 1 big gear and something else in the corners might have looked good. I like the colors. I like the colors a little less than the Breakthrough card back. I like the symbol a little bit more because, you know, it's not the Cards logo. For a while, I used this card a lot. Just because, I kind of like orange. But it just doesn't hold up very well. I'll keep it in B tier, which might be a hot take. I'm sure a lot of people will rate this like C or D. I just really like orange. I think it looks fine. It's not better than the Steam card back. Steam card back does gears better. But like, you know, gears are gears. Then we have the Legions card back. This is just the Poland brown with the Cards logo on it. It's really boring. I mean, I prefer the brown to like the grays, and like the light beiges over here, but it's not as good as basically the same color with an eagle on it. Then we get the Poland, the Legions Uprising, again, the mini expansion for the Legions expansion. And it kind of followed the trend of Catalyst, where Catalyst, you had the standard Breakthrough expansion, and then you had Breakthrough Catalyst, where it used the same colors, but it went in a completely different direction. Legions Uprising just looks, it took that and ran. Like, it has this, like, pink with the white. And then I assume this is, like, Polish Navy. But it kind of looks like an anchor with a P on it. It might not be a P, but I'm assuming it's a naval symbol. And it's just a weird card back, and it also gets brought down points because it breaks the formatting of all of the other expansion-specific card backs so much. It's just kind of wild. Like, it doesn't even have, like, the symbol for the expansion is the eagle. Like, you could have done something like the Polish card back, where you take the eagle, you blow it up, but they didn't. They instead did this really bizarre card back that I have no idea where to rate this. I would never use this card back, but I'm not going to put it in F tier because I think it looks fine when other people use it. Like, I've seen this card back a lot, and I think it looks fine. It has some interesting colors. It's colors that don't really exist elsewhere in the game. It just does not work for me personally. And this is my tier list, so I'm going to be putting it in, like, low C, I think. But, if you like this card back, if you love this card back, I think that's perfectly reasonable. It's sort of starting to reach the point where I feel like it's actively... Like, sort of this is the point where card backs start to actively dislike them. Then we have the Brothers in Arms expansion. It goes back to the same form. It's gray. It's like, I think it's just between Legions and Allegiance. Then we have the Winter War card back. This one's cooler. The snowflake. I like the snowflake symbol. I like this color of blue. I think it's a lot brighter. But again, I can't put it too high because it is just a very straightforward color. And in cards, it's a somewhat unique color. I feel like in other games, this is a type of color scheme that is the default color scheme in a lot of other games for a lot of other things. Just like this white and lightish blue. So I can't rate it too highly, but I'm fine with this card back. I think it definitely is it's out of D tier. It's better than all of the other sort of lower tiered expansion ones. But I don't think it's unique enough to reach to B tier. So we're going to put it in C tier somewhere. Yeah, I think this is a reasonable place to put it. Then we have the ranked card backs. So we are getting into the card backs that you can earn through what you do in the game. So there's a card back for each rank you achieve. They are metallic, like the first year anniversary one, and you can only actually have one of these at a time because you don't keep them. You just get the one for the month based on the rank that you achieved in the previous month. So this is ranks 20 to 15 or 20 to 16. This one looks terrible. It's going in F tier. Now, it actually, yeah, I'd put it here. It looks even worse than the anniversary card back. Then you have the ranks 15 to 11, which is very similar, but instead of a adequate silver color, you have this bronze rusty color. Looks even worse. Then you have the ranks 10 to 6 card back. I think this one looks fine. I think it looks the best out of all of the ranked card backs. I still would never run it. Like, honestly, the ranked card backs are all F tier, in my opinion. They're just all... I hate the metallic look, but it is the best out of the F tiers. It's marginally worse, in my opinion, than the ranks 5 to 2 card back, which has got to be the rarest card back in the game. I feel like if you're able to reach rank 5, you're pushing into Field Marshal. Now, if you're somebody who's like hard stock rank 5, apologies, but in reward for being hard stock rank 5, you get a really cool looking card back, and then we have the Field Marshal card back, which looks terrible. Now, I still think it's better than these two, but it's too much. Like, it's just almost solid gold, basically, and it looks absolutely awful. Now, I know a lot of people use this card back, and if you use this card back, it's fine, for a couple of reasons. One, if the metallic card backs are to your taste, that's perfectly fine. And two, a lot of people hit Field Marshal for the first time, and they get this really cool, shiny Field Marshal card back, and, like, they probably only have the basic card backs, and, like, if that's all you have, fair enough. You want to use the new shiny card back you just got. I can respect that. Then we get onto the tournament card backs. So the first one is the Champions card back. This one you are rewarded for just winning any official cards tournament or getting, I think, top 4 in Worlds. I could be wrong about that. You get it. You got it for getting top 8 in the OCC Ultimate. And then there's a couple fan-run tournaments where the winners got the Champions card back. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Nations Cup. I think Team France won it a couple of years ago, and everyone on Team France got the Champions card back. So this is a really cool card back. It's one of the rarest card backs in the game, for the reason that you need to win a tournament to get it. And there's only so many tournaments online and or on at any given time, and they're highly competitive. And you know, if the person who wins already has it, the next person doesn't get it. Like, just nobody gets it if the person who wins has it. Like, so I have earned a fair number of these. Obviously, you only get the one. I feel like they should also give it out to people who win seasons. Just because winning a season's really hard and you get absolutely nothing for it. If they introduce a, like, season winner card back, I think that'd be even cooler. Like, a separate, like, you know, card back, like the Champions card back that they exclusively give out to winners of seasons. That would incentivize people to push for first. I think that'd be kind of like a very easy thing for them to do. But anyways, that's enough rambling about the card. Where do I put the Champions card back? I think this is a very cool card back. Again, black and white, black and gold. It looks really good to me. I think the Champions card back is going to be a solid A tier card back. The ribbons I can do without. Like, we're going to look down at some of these other card backs. Let's just pull up this card back for comparison. So it's basically just this card back, but with ribbons. And, you know, it looks worse. But it still looks really good. We'll put it up. Honestly, it looks still so good. I love the tournament card backs. Specifically the black tournament card backs. They look so good, I'm going to put it at the top of A tier. Then we get to the World Championship card backs. So these are card backs that you earn from playing in the World Championship at different stages. This is the 2019 qualifier card back. So I think if you just participated in the qualifier, or if you made the top 128 maybe, you got this card back. And it is by far the best tournament card back. Like, if you compare this to the board, like, it's still not as dark black, but if you compare it to just the Champions League, the Champions card back, it's just a darker black. Like, from this point on, they just kept making all of the black card backs less black. But yeah, you have this, it sort of is the one that introduced, it's the Kards star, the default logo star, but it's golden, and it has the wreath. It introduced the wreath, and then it has these, like, tiny grayed darker wreaths in the corners, and then it has the border that surrounds the card with more wreaths in it. It just looks really, really good. And as we will see when we get to the other card backs, that is it. It doesn't have any dates on it. It's just that. This is an A tier card back for me. Absolutely love this card back. And honestly, this might be my favorite card back in the game. Just because it looks really, really good, and then it is boosted by the rarity aspect of it. I don't know. Maybe it's between fish. I feel like these three just look so cool. That they have more going on for it, but I absolutely love the Champions, or the 2019 qualifier card back. I use it all the time. Then we get to the 2019 finals card back. I think this was for everyone in top 16 in 2019. So this is a very rare card back, and when you consider that this was from, like, over 4 years ago, and of those, like, whatever it was, 16 players, I think, probably more than half of them have not played the game in several years. This is probably the rarest card back in the game in terms of seeing it. Now, unfortunately, it just looks a lot worse than the qualifier card back, which more people have, because it's the same thing, but it's on gray, and the gray looks worse than black, and then it says 2019 under it, which would be fine. Like, it's cool that it says 2019, like, as opposed to alpha. Like, people playing in alpha were playing in, like, 2018. But, you know, it just says alpha. It doesn't say a date. Like, I'm a fan of having dates on the card. But it just looks substantially worse. Like, I can't put this, I mean, I think I prefer it to the alpha card back. So, like, we'll put it in A tier, but I can't put it in S tier. It's just very mediocre, compared to the qualifier card back. And then we will see the other ones follow a trend. So this is the 2020, finals card back. That's the name of it. They gave it to everyone in the qualifiers. So it has the same name as this one, although it did not get given out to the same positions. So this one, they've gone back to black. However, I assumed that every World Championship, they would just give out the same World Championship qualifier card back. And I think that was probably originally their plan, because it's not called the 2019 qualifier card back. It's just called the World Championship card, like, qualifier card back. And it doesn't have a date on it. And it looks really good. And if you put it side by side with the 2021, it's the same thing, but the 2021 has a worse color. It's a far more grayed out black. And then it says 2020 on it. It's still better than the 2019 one, because just I prefer the blacks to the grays. But, you know, it's not as good as the Champions card back. It's probably, like, somewhere in here, let's say. Maybe here. And then we get to the 2019 Top 16 card back, which is basically the same as this one, but it says 2020 instead of 2019. I think it's a slightly darker shade of orange, maybe. I prefer the 2019 one exclusively because it's older, so it's marginally rarer. There's not a lot to separate them. Yeah, not a lot else to say about these, really. Then the 2021 card back, which I think was given to everyone in qualifiers who, like, achieved a certain rank. And again, they've gone back to the black one. Not a lot to differentiate it between the 2021. And this is when they stopped doing 2 a year. This one is just to the qualifiers. People who got top 16 got absolutely nothing. So then they do the 2022 card back, where this again is just to everybody who made qualifiers or a certain threshold of qualifiers. And to keep it in line, I guess, they went back to the gray, so there's an equal amount of gray and black, but not really, because again, the qualifier one is a different color and does not have 2019 on it, but this is the 2022 one, and it's going to be worse than the 2020 or 2019 one. And then we get to the 2023 one. Again, this one out to all the qualifiers. This one is wild, though. It completely revamps the format. It's red. It keeps the same laurels in the background, but it's now red and white rather than black and gold, gray and gold. The logo is far smaller. Instead of just the card star, it's the cards with the actual, like, cards. Like, cards with a C. And then 2023, far smaller. I would have liked to see these bigger. And I'm also not a fan of the red. I appreciate that they wanted to do something different. This just doesn't work for me. I think it's actually, it looks very similar to the Soviet 250 and Japan 350. So I will fittingly just sort of throw it in there with those. It's cool for the novelty. It's new. It's World Championship. But, like, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't look that good, unfortunately. Then we get to the World Championship bundle card back. This one is not earned from doing anything. This is onto the final section of limited time general card backs. This one is during the World Championship, like the month that it's happening. This is available in the shop for purchase, and you get some card packs, and you get this card back. It was available in 2022. I did not get it then because I thought that I would be earning it from being in top 4. I thought I just got that for free. I did not, and then the sale ended, so I never got it. But then they brought it back in 2023 with the exact same card back, and I did get my hands on it. I absolutely love this. This is an S tier card back. easily one of my favorite card backs in the game. I prefer it even to the 2019 qualifier card back, just because it looks really cool. That might drop over time, just because the 2019 qualifier card back has a bit more novelty to it. But I like the colors. It has like confetti raining from the ceiling. It has the actual cup rather than just a star and laurels and whatnot. It looks really good. It's kind of funny that it looks better than all of the card backs you earned from actually being in Worlds. So yeah, we're going to leave it up in here at S tier. But if you want to get your hands on it, if you like the look of it too, I expect it will be back in 2024. Then we have the Medic card back. Now this one's very straightforward. You have the sort of the medical two twin snakes. I'm not up on my Greek lore. I don't remember what they're called. And then you have the Red Cross symbols in the corner. It's a very simple, like, green, grayish green color. However, what I really like about this card back is this was the first card back I ever spent money. This was the first time I ever spent money on cards. Was to buy this, and it was a charity relief sort of event that they ran in the game in 2020. The money was donated to COVID-related relief funds. This was sort of at like the height of COVID when everything was shutting down. Vaccines were not out yet and whatnot. And this was just sort of like a one-time thing that the devs felt about it, and they just put it into the game. They made a card back all around it, and 100% of the proceeds went to charity. And I just think that's really, really cool. I would love to see more of this, and I think the card back is very, very rare because of that. I don't think it's ever been made available in the shop again. I hope they don't make it available in the shop again, just because, you know, it's kind of weird that you'd make a charity thing available for money later. So yeah, it has a rarity factor to it. It has just that general heartwarming sense around it. Because this was one of the first card backs I sort of had, back in like 2020 when there was almost no card backs and I didn't have the bundles to get, you know, this card back looks sick. I use this card back all the time, so it has a huge nostalgia factor for me. Objectively speaking, it's not anything special. It would probably be in B or C tier. However, just all of the factors I already mentioned, it's going to put it into A tier for me. I absolutely love the Medic card back. Again, where in A tier doesn't really matter. Let's just, like, throw it. Yeah, let's throw it here. Absolutely love this. Then, last but not least, we have the two seasonal card backs. This is the 2022 Christmas card back. So this was available for a limited time during Christmas. Everybody got it for free and was able to use it. However, it was removed from their accounts, in theory, in January 2023. Some people still have it because I think it's like if you don't touch the deck, you can keep it. I don't think you can use it, though. I'm not positive. But yeah, you'll still see screenshots of this card back from time to time. This is a really cool looking card back. It's sad that you can't use it forever. But in general, it has like this cool Christmas design in the background. I like Christmas. Like, I'm not a fan of, like, you look at all these red things at the bottom of C tier. I'm not a huge fan of the red in general, but it has the Christmas stuff going on in the background. It's not just like solid colors like all of these. The snowflake stands out quite a bit. It's very thematic. This is going to be like a solid, low A, high B card back. Then you have the Christmas 2023 seasonal card back. Last but not least, in similar vibe, this one has a wreath. It has a star in the middle. It's green rather than red. Although it has a similar background. It might actually have the same background. Sort of the white stuff in the background. And you have some red on the wreath to make it stand out a bit. I think I like this marginally more than the snowflake one. It's a bit more colorful. And again, I mentioned it a long time ago. Green is my favorite color. I know it doesn't look like green is my favorite color based on this tier list, but green is my favorite color, and this is closer to my favorite shade of green than a lot of the other stuff. And, you know, it just looks pretty nice. So we'll throw this up here in A tier. And that brings us to the end of my tier list. I will have a link to this tier list in the description of the video and in my Discord. If you want to make and share your own, feel free to discuss in the comments. Please keep it civil. You know, let me know if there's you have any hot takes. Let me know if you think I had any hot takes. Let me know if I'm absolutely wrong and you know, you hate Britain Air, or, you think that Theaters of War Germany is the best card back in the game. Let me know all of your thoughts down below, and subscribe if you haven't, share the video, join my Discord, and I will catch you in the next one.
What a performance there by J King.
J King, full plot armor.
J King is pushing himself into the ranks of the legend.
J King is our world champion! J King 7! What? The back-to-back Cards world champion!
Am I streaming?